Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into some fascinating sources. We're looking at a blueprint for rapid, deep transformation.
Yeah, this isn't your standard self-help guide. It's much more strategic.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about unlocking potential, getting past limits, breaking those patterns that hold back really ambitious people.
That's right. Our mission today is basically to unpack the philosophy and the actual framework of someone who's carved out a unique role, the transformational catalyst.
And importantly, the Negentropic Agent. We need to talk about that.
Definitely. We're analyzing their specific process for guiding people towards what they term inner genius and divine flow.
And this is really for you, the listener, especially if you're ambitious. We're talking about leaders, professionals maybe feeling like they've hit a ceiling.
Yes, the visionary entrepreneurs perhaps feeling stalled, or those purpose-driven professionals at a crossroads, looking for real clarity and impact.
The promise here is breakthrough growth, real joy, by moving beyond those,
Right.
well, those ego-driven strategies we all fall into.
And what jumps out immediately is that this isn't built on like soft skills alone. The sources show a very technical profile. It's a mix of intelligence analysis, deep psychology, and a frankly quite unusual personal history.
A history of deliberate exploration, it seems.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It defines what the source even calls a category of one approach to change, both personal and systemic.
Okay, let's get into this hidden architecture then, starting with the foundation. The core skills seem almost contradictory, don't they? A certified intelligence analyst on one side
Right.
and a master hypnotherapist on the other. How do those even fit together?
Well, I think the friction between them is the point.
Yeah.
The analyst part brings this incredible high-level analytical ability. We're talking top 2%
Yeah.
in openness that's intelligent fluidity, basically creative intelligence.
Okay.
And their method is defined by divergent thinking, lateral analysis.
Mhm.
They don't just see the obvious problems. They spot the unseen patterns, the hidden architecture within people or systems.
Right, the stuff underneath. But spotting it is one thing. How do they actually change it? If the analyst finds a limiting belief, how does the hypnotherapist side implement the fix?
That's the crucial link. The analyst pinpoints the high leverage point, the root assumption causing the bottleneck. Then the master hypnotherapist provides the toolkit, the mechanism to actually reprogram that deep structure.
So hypnosis here isn't stage tricks.
Not at all. It's about accessing and modifying the core protocols that the analysis showed were causing the entropy, the decay.
Which brings us to that term, Negentropic Agent. Let's ground that for everyone listening. What does that mean in practice?
Okay, so negentropy is the opposite of entropy. Entropy is systems winding down, decaying, getting stuck. Think old business models, bad habits.
Think so.
A negentropic agent actively works against that. They intentionally design for growth, for increased order, for enhanced potential. It's about systematically creating upward momentum, measurably.
So it's proactive design, not just fixing what's broken, but building in anti-fragility. Is that the right idea?
Exactly. It's creating systems, whether in a business or a person, that don't just maintain things, but actually get stronger when they face manageable challenges. They produce novelty and growth almost inevitably.
Okay, that's a powerful concept. To understand where this thinking comes from, we need to look at the origins. The sources point back to age 8, a key insight.
Yeah, apparently that's when they realized most adults operate on system 1 thinking, the fast, intuitive, often superficial responses.
The autopilot mode.
Pretty much. And crucially, they were satisficing.
Satisficing, settling for good enough.
Exactly. Taking the path of least resistance instead of putting in the deeper effort the system 2 thinking needed for something truly satisfying, truly meaningful. That early observation sparked the whole quest, really. Why choose mediocrity?
And their own profile was paradoxical from the start, described as deeply introverted, yet always picked for public performances. Speaking MLK lines, JFK, even ballet.
Yeah, that created a sort of essential tension. The introversion drove the intense self-study, the analysis. But the performance side built the ability to hold attention, manage energy, communicate complex stuff effectively.
The inner scientist and the outer magician.
Something like that. A good way to put it.
And the love of words started even earlier, age 6, during a parental separation, writing a complex poem.
Apparently so. They couldn't articulate the trauma directly, so they found power in symbolism, in metaphor. That became the medium later for conveying the analytical insights, not just data, but resonant language.
Which led to that intense learning phase at 13, getting a library card and just devouring everything.
Yeah, moving past the usual teenage stuff straight into human behavior, communication theory, mythology, even cult dynamics, behavioral science.
Wow.
Became a self-described young scientist of the mind. This wasn't casual reading, it was active pattern recognition, reverse engineering human programming, essentially long before any formal training.
And it wasn't just books. The sources talk about deliberate, intense initiation, seeking out really difficult, even dangerous situations.
This is key. We're talking initiations into 3 major street gangs in 1 year. Later, joining secret societies they'd read about.
Why? What was the point of that?
To understand the dynamics, power, psychology, behavior from the inside, not just theoretically, they saw initiation as a direct path to accelerated learning and deep understanding, subjecting themselves to systemic extremes.
That extended to religion, too. Intense Christian evangelism, then leaving after deep study of secular history.
Right, studying the secular history of the Bible, finding what they saw as structural issues or loopholes, this whole path cultivated extreme non-agreeability.
Top 5%, the source says.
Which sounds negative, but in this context, it's functional. You can't break limiting protocols if you're wired to just agree and follow rules. You need that contrarian edge to see past the accepted structures.
Okay, that drive to see underneath brings us to the core dogma. The difference between ego loops and genius flow. This feels central for the listener to grasp.
Absolutely central. Ego loops are described as regulatory closed systems. They're primarily about inhibition, safety, fear, restriction.
And they rely on limited feedback.
Exactly. Restricted feedback. You only let in information that confirms your existing, often fearful, limited view. It keeps you stuck.
Okay, so the alternative is genius flow, sometimes called the daemon or divine flow. How does that work differently?
Genius flow is about being present, dynamic, open to novelty. The key difference is it uses holistically integrated feedback.
Meaning?
The source uses a skiing analogy I quite like. The ego-driven skier focuses only on not crashing, restricting movement based on fear, limited feedback.
Right.
The genius flow skier integrates everything: snow, wind, slope, body position dynamically. This allows for novel moves, high speed, breakthrough performance. It embraces all the data.
Got it. Ego loop restricts feedback, genius flow integrates it all.
Precisely. And the belief powering this flow is huge. You are more powerful than you've ever been led to believe.
Yeah.
That unique daemon. It connects to the idea that nobody has the same God.
Meaning everyone's inner genius is unique.
Totally unique. And bringing your specific genius fully online, that's seen as the ultimate Negentropic act, the most rewarding thing you can possibly do.
But it requires sacred surrender, which sounds passive.
But it's framed as an act of surrender. It's not giving up. It's actively letting go of the ego's tight grip, its need for control and prediction. That's the ego loop.
So you actively choose to trust the genius flow's holistic feedback.
Exactly. You authorize your deeper genius to take the lead. It echoes Jung, actually, the idea of looking within. You have to consciously surrender the ego's boundaries.
Okay, so that's the philosophy. How do you apply this strategically? The sources mention a principle from Cornelius Heinrich Agrippa. The superior binds the inferior and converts it to itself.
Yes, that's the core leverage principle. In any system, a person, a team, a company, you find the superior force, the highest leverage point, the most potent action.
And use it to transform the weaker parts.
Correct. Convert the inferior elements to align with the superior force. It's about finding the one lever that moves the whole system, rather than fighting lots of small, low-impact battles.
And the growth strategy hinges on initiation is the way to grow.
This taps into the hormetic response. For the listener, think of it like strength training for a system.
Okay.
You introduce a controlled, tolerable level of stress or challenge, just enough to push the system. This forces it to overcompensate, to adapt, making it stronger and capable of handling more than before.
Strategic stress for growth. Anti-fragility again.
Precisely. It's applied negentropy, which leads nicely to that phrase the individual coined.
Goodness in, goodness out.
Yeah, the positive spin on garbage in, garbage out. If you intentionally design for positive inputs and strategic challenges, you get breakthrough outputs.
But this approach also clearly defines its enemies, doesn't it?
It does. Externally, it targets the obvious ones: mind controllers, bullies, systems that deliberately disempower people or obscure their potential.
But maybe more importantly, the internal fight against victim systems.
Right. Those mindsets or belief structures, often unconscious, that keep people feeling weak, timid, maybe perpetually angry.
And the goal isn't just sympathy.
No, the goal is conversion. Recognize these stances as systemic failures, as entropy, and actively work to convert them into states of strength and joy. It refuses to accept weakness as a useful state. It's an opportunity for transformation.
Looking at the whole picture, some of the defining traits are labeled as flaws, but they seem to function as strengths here.
Definitely. That high contrarian nature we mentioned, top 5% non-agreeable, in a normal corporate setting, that's a problem. Here it's vital.
Because you need it to break conformity.
You can't get to breakthrough following the cookie-cutter paths, as the source says. That contrarian impulse is necessary to challenge the status quo, the prevailing mediocrity.
Then there's the constant self-deconstruction. That sounds tough.
It is. The sources admit it can impede smooth business or relationships, but the purpose is key. It's deconstruction for better construction, for integrity.
If the foundation's wrong, tear it down and rebuild properly.
Exactly. Even if it's inconvenient, that integrity seems non-negotiable.
Which leads to the last one, the need to break protocol, to do it my way. That sounds like an artist's life.
It really does. An artist working with strategy and psychology. If the protocol serves the ego loop, serves entropy, then it must be broken.
And yet, despite all this internal focus and rule-breaking...
Right. There's this flip side. The ability to step up and be a sort of magician or MC for huge events like 200, 700 people and create a genuinely magical time and space.
That shows incredible range, mastering internal flow and large-scale group dynamics. Okay, we've covered a lot: inner genius, Negentropic agents, ego loops versus genius flow, hormetic growth.
It's a dense framework.
Definitely.
And maybe a final thought to leave with you, the listener. The sources stress constantly that knowledge isn't valuable unless it's applied.
Yeah.
So thinking about ego loops versus genius flow, remember, feedback is king in genius flow. Maybe ask yourself, where in your life, your work, are you operating with restricted feedback?
Focusing only on one metric, maybe driven by fear, ignoring the wider picture.
Exactly. That's likely an ego loop. And where could you instead actively embrace more feedback, that holistic, dynamic input needed for, well, for that sacred surrender and your next real breakthrough?
That's a powerful question to sit with. Where are we limiting the data? Fantastic. Thank you for diving deep with us today.